You're not tired. You're not lazy. You're not losing discipline. Something else is happening. Because the strangest part isn't that you feel distracted. It's that you feel fragmented. You can start a thought and forget what it was mid. You can open your phone for one thing and wake up 10 minutes later somewhere else. You can watch a full video and still feel like you absorbed nothing. You can read a paragraph and realize your eyes moved, but your mind wasn't there. That's not random. That's a pattern, and it's spreading. Look at your day. Not the big moments, the small ones, the in-between moments. 5 seconds waiting for an elevator. 10 seconds in a grocery line, 2 minutes before a meeting. A short walk from room to room. Those spaces used to be silent. Now they're filled instantly. Noise, messages, short clips, mini crises, micro opinions, and constant new inputs. Your brain never gets the full room. It never gets to finish a thought. It only gets interrupted. Again, and again, and again. That's the signal. Because fragmentation doesn't feel like a problem at first. It feels like normal life. You still work. You still reply. You still function. But there's a quiet cost. You stop feeling depth. Not because you don't want it, but because you can't reach it. And when depth disappears, something else replaces it. Automatic behavior, fast reactions, instant judgments, short emotions, quick anger, quick comfort, quick fear. It becomes easier to steer you. Not by force, by fracturing your attention until you're no longer a full person in one place. You become a moving target, a mind that never fully arrives. And the worst part is, you don't notice it happening, because the war doesn't look like violence. It looks like convenience. It looks like just checking. It looks like just one more thing. It looks like I'm staying informed. It looks like I'm being productive. But what's really happening is simpler. Your reality is being cut into pieces so small, you can't build a stable inner world anymore. And when a mind loses stability, it starts searching for something external to hold on to. A trend, a narrative, a group, a routine, an identity, a distraction, something, anything. Because a fragmented mind cannot sit in silence without discomfort, and that discomfort is not weakness. It's withdrawal from the thing you've been trained to depend on, constant input. So here's the question. If your life is being sliced into fragments, if your mind is being trained to never finish a thought, if your attention is being harvested in microseconds, then what happens to your identity? What happens to your will? What happens to your ability to resist? That's what this war really is. Not a war of opinions, a war of mental continuity, and most people lose it without ever realizing, because no one told them a mind can be broken without pain, only with interruptions. Fragmentation works because it targets something ancient inside you. Your brain is designed to complete patterns. It hates unfinished loops. That's why you can't ignore a notification. That's why you can't stop scrolling. That's why your mind replays conversations at night. That's why you keep opening apps even when you don't want to. It's not curiosity. It's a compulsion created by incomplete resolution. Every interruption creates a small open loop, a tiny gap your brain wants to close. And when the gaps stack, your nervous system never stands down. You live in a constant low level almost. Almost finished. Almost relaxed. Almost focused. Almost present. But never fully there. That's why people today don't just feel distracted. They feel restless. They switch between tabs, tasks, thoughts, identities. Not because they're broken, but because they've been placed in an environment where staying whole is difficult. And here's the brutal truth. A fragmented person is predictable, because the only thing that calms fragmentation is quick relief, fast entertainment, fast validation, fast outrage, fast comfort. That's why outrage spreads faster than clarity. That's why fear travels faster than truth. That's why shallow ideas win. Not because people are stupid, because their minds are divided into pieces too small to hold complexity. And when you can't hold complexity, you accept whatever fits inside the smallest container. One sentence, one headline, one enemy, one simplified explanation. Fragmentation turns you into a reaction machine, but it gets worse. Because when your mind is constantly cut, you stop trusting your own perception. You start needing external confirmation for everything. You feel uncertain about what you think. You feel unstable about what you feel. You feel disconnected from what you want. That's how control happens. Not by forcing you to believe something, but by weakening your ability to hold your own truth long enough to defend it. A mind that can't stay in one place, can't resist. It can only react. And reactions are easy to harvest. This is why the system doesn't need to silence people anymore. It just needs to keep them busy. Busy minds don't organize. Busy minds don't plan. Busy minds don't build. They consume. They argue. They jump. They forget. And the most dangerous part, you can live your entire life like this and call it normal. Because fragmentation doesn't feel like death. It feels like speed. It feels like modernity. It feels like life is just faster now. But speed is not the problem. The problem is loss of continuity. Loss of a single internal line. A core. A stable center. That's why you can have a day filled with activity and still feel empty. Because you weren't there for your own day. You were split into fragments, watching it from the side. Fragment war reveals something most people don't want to admit. A mind isn't controlled by what it believes. A mind is controlled by what it can't hold long enough. Your values don't disappear. Your intelligence doesn't vanish. Your attention gets broken. And then your identity follows, because identity requires continuity. You can't build a stable self when your mind resets every 12 seconds. You can't build discipline when your brain lives inside interruptions. You can't build peace when your nervous system never finishes a loop. That's why people today feel like they're always becoming, but never arriving. Always learning, but never integrating. Always consuming, but never transforming. Fragment war makes growth impossible because growth requires focus, and focus requires silence. Not empty silence, but functional silence. The kind where your mind reconnects to itself, the kind where thoughts finish, the kind where emotions settle, the kind where you can hear your own signal again. Because when you regain mental continuity, something changes fast. You stop being easy to steer. You become less reactive, harder to provoke, harder to distract, harder to destabilize. That's why fragmentation is tolerated, because it produces compliance without force. It produces dependency without chains. It produces control without a visible controller. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You'll notice it everywhere. The way every app rewards impulsive behavior. The way every platform pushes you to jump. The way every system profits from your attention leaking out. But here's the final point. The war isn't out there. The battlefield is your inner continuity, your ability to remain one person in one place. And the moment you protect that, you become dangerous to the system. Because a whole mind starts asking whole questions, and whole questions destroy shallow narratives. So if you've been feeling scattered, if you've been feeling like you can't think clearly anymore, don't blame your personality. Don't blame your willpower. Recognize the environment. Recognize the war, and do the simplest act of resistance. Finish a thought. Hold a silence. Stay in one place long enough to return to yourself. Because the people easiest to control are the ones who never fully arrive. And now you know why. Before you leave, take a second to check if you resubscribed. Most people think they are. They usually aren't.